Marcus, welcome to the show.
Thanks for asking me, Will. I'm really excited.
You and I both. And I think this is going to be particularly interesting for our listeners as well, because the honest truth is we very rarely will ever have guests come on and talk about money, which there's a few reasons that I don't. And the one of the reasons is because I think that a lot of the people that are out there that are talking about money are opportunists, and they're people that are trying to get rich quick. And one of the quickest ways that they feel they can get rich quick is by teaching other people how to get rich quick, right? And they lack a bit of substance. So for everybody that's listening, I've known of Marcus for many years now. For as long as I've been in personal development, it's a name that I've heard of, and as sort of a legend in the industry, having spoken on some of the big stages around the world with some of the personal development legends. And then Marcus and I had the pleasure of spending some time together a couple of months ago now, and I thought, you know what? No, this guy's the real deal. He's a great guy, and he's got a wealth of knowledge and experience, which I'm really excited to be sharing with you.
We will see.
We'll let them be the determinants of that. They can let us know. But no, we've heard the introduction already. But the thing that's always important, this whole conversation, Marcus, it's called North Star Conversations. And I believe in having a North Star that's the equivalent of trying to empty the sea with a spoon, having a mission in life that you strive towards and you work towards. And
did you just say empty the sea with a spoon? Is that what you just said?
Empty the sea with a spoon. Yeah, trying to empty the sea with a spoon. And the concept behind that, for anybody that hasn't heard me say it before, is if you have a goal in life that's so big you never achieve it, you can wake up every day and have fulfillment. And then it's not about achieving the destination. You just constantly work towards this mission, and it's ever expanding, and there's a lot of stuff that comes with it.
Really interesting. So you think it's better not to achieve it then, just to keep going on a daily basis and Absolutely. Have something to achieve? Is that?
Yeah. So the way I explain it to people is have the mission is the thing that you do that you never achieve. Sure, you have milestones along the way, right? Yeah. So there's milestones that you can have, goals you might want to call them, but the actual thing that you're doing, the activity you're doing, is just something you continue to do over and over again.
I agree. I don't think I'm ever going to achieve it. Not in my lifetime. But who knows if I can leave a legacy enough for, because I believe that leaders create other leaders. And so you start off thinking that you're the best at doing something, and I basically was teaching people for around 8 years before I let somebody else teach, and then I thought, bloody hell, he's actually really good. And now I have a few real leaders in other countries as well. So my mission is to help as many people around the world create financial freedom for themselves and their families, which I added after I had children, and their families. I never thought about it, the families, through financial education. And then it's funny because the purpose or the mission of the company is slightly different. It's to simplify investing so that anyone can take control of their financial future.
Yeah, I love that. And that's a really important distinction as well, is that, so in sort of my world, in terms of the whole North Star thinking concept, is that an individual has a North Star, and then a company will have a mission, or and also you call it that as well, but they don't necessarily have to be the same. I've got different companies, and one of the North Stars for one of my companies is very different to my personal North Star, but it folds into that, and it kind of all sits under the same umbrella, if you like, if you boil it down. So helping people every day to take control of their financial future and gain the financial education. Let's face it, that almost none of us ever grew up with.
I didn't. I definitely.
And where did that lead you to?
Well, I'll tell you where it led me. It led me to sleeping on my brother's floor for 6 months in a bright green sleeping bag, which I took up Mount Kilimanjaro, so it wasn't that bad. But still, I mean, I did, because I was just out there having fun, doing what I guess people do in their 20s, I guess, which is, having fun. I was interested in women and having fun, And I didn't really ever think about money. I just never thought about it. And I did study forever, though, because I just didn't want to work. I just didn't, because I knew that as soon as I enter the workplace, I would work for the rest of my life. I had this knowledge that would happen. So I just went on every single course that I possibly could to try and stave that off. And I actually started work at the age of, I can't believe I did this, at the age of 29. That's the first time I actually started working, like properly.
And just to be clear for everyone that's listening, so what you were just studying, so you were learning and learning and learning, doing courses,
Yeah,
qualifications, degrees,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, absolutely. And taking years off, a year after school, a year during university, a year after university, the longest course I possibly could to get a master's. You can get them in 1 year nowadays. I did it in 3 years, and then took half a year off after that. And then I was so badly in debt at that stage. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And then I thought, oh
Yeah,
God, now I really need to do something. We were talking about £100,000.
yeah.
Um, yeah, God.
And so let's get stuck straight into it, because you're not in £100,000 debt anymore, and you've helped. I believe I'm saying, and I don't know how up to date this is, but over 50,000 people internationally learn about, not just learn about money, but actually make money, make
Yes, yes,
family, make money that impacts them and their families, and
yeah.
essentially has the ability to create multi-generational wealth.
Yes, I
Is
love
what
that
you're doing.
multi-generational wealth. That's right, intergenerational wealth. I think we need to really demand more of ourselves and of our money, because what we're doing is we're putting it in the bank. Why wouldn't you? Everybody else does. Our parents did, so just do the same thing, right? But I mean, especially during COVID, and when inflation now gone through the roof. And then the banks were giving us what, like 1%, 0.5%, whatever. And so we were losing money, losing money, losing money on a daily basis. Then there's the printing of money, so the devaluation of money. Then you've got the taxes, then the banks aren't giving. And so you're being attacked on all these fronts. Now you can defend yourself from two people, I guess. Taxes, yeah, sure, we need roads. Okay, they aren't giving us the money in the bank. Okay. But then when you get attacked from two other people from behind, the devaluation and the inflation, basically what we're doing, I think all of us really, is just working harder and harder and harder and harder just to stay still.
Yeah.
That just can't go on. I mean, at some stage, something's going to break. It has to. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So let's, for the purposes of this episode, is if we could look at explaining um, some of the key elements of financial education from a complete beginner. So let's say that somebody that's listening to this right now, let's say that they are maybe in debt, they are working really hard to try and get out of it, but they've also got these other things that they want to do. And we really come at it from a real beginner's level. And maybe one day we'll have another episode that we do together, and we do maybe a slightly more advanced version. But so let's just start with financial education fundamentals. What is it that the majority of people are doing wrong because of lack of knowledge or their mindset when it comes to money?
Yeah, that's a good one. Because I spent the last kind of 20 years on the more advanced stuff. So let me think back. I remember when I was in debt. I do remember that I'd never actually been taught about managing my money, just managing, and the idea that I have to manage my money. Oh, surely money management is for rich people. No, actually, it's for people who weren't rich. They start managing their money and then they become rich. It doesn't matter how
Mm,
much money you have or not, even if it's like £1, you've still got to manage it. So how do you do that? Okay, most people have one bank account. If you have one bank account, somebody goes, "Oh, do you want to go out?" And you look at your bank account and there's money in there. And so you go, "Yeah." And then you take money out of that bank account. But that money was there to pay the rent. It was there to make investments, maybe, or maybe that's too advanced. But and so as soon as you have one bank account, you're already lost. You're not managing your money. Now imagine that you have a bank account, and let's say 100% of your money goes in, and then let's say 55% of that potentially you need for everyday necessities. Okay, but then what about a play account? So if somebody says to you on the 26th of the month, "Hey, do you fancy going out?" You don't look at the one account, you look at the, "Oh, hold on, let me look at my play account," and you see it's empty. Do you know what you say to that person? Shock horror. You say, "No, but what about next week? Or if you want to do it this week, why don't you come round, bring a pizza and I'll supply the Netflix." Because you don't actually have money to spend right now. Now, this honestly explodes people's minds. He goes, "But you've got to have fun. You've got to have fun." I don't think you deserve to have fun yet, because you haven't managed your money yet. Once you
mm,
can have a lot of fun, but you got to manage your money first, and have
yeah,
different accounts for different things.
yeah,
Education account, a savings account, a fun account. Maybe you want a give account. Maybe you want to give a charity. Lots of different things like that.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's easier now than it's ever been, right? With depending on who you bank with, but
It's
there's
all
lots of
online now.
the
Yeah.
online banks, Starling and Revolut and
First
other banks are
Direct. Yeah, they're
available.
good.
You can create these pots, and you can create the pots instantly. Where the
Yes.
moment the money lands,
Yes.
it goes into the pot, so you don't even see it. And
Automatically. And that's
yeah,
called forced saving.
yeah,
Because if you have it in your bank account, you're likely to spend it. But if it's not in your main account, well, you won't spend it. You'll kind of like, it's a little bit like time. It's like if you have 2 weeks to do something, you'll probably spend 2 weeks to it. If you have 24 hours to finish that thing, because you have to, you'll probably do it.
yeah.
So it's the same thing.
Absolutely, and it is a mindset shift. I mean, I have a bunch of different pots set up. One of my pots is a charity pot, so every single month
Yeah.
a certain amount of money goes into a charity pot, and it just builds up. And what used to happen was I would say somebody would come to me and say, "Oh, well, we've got this charity event, or we've got this I'm running the marathon or whatever," and I would be like, "Oh, how much can I give?" Whereas now I look at the account and go, "Wow, there's that much. Wow, I can give all this. I actually give more than I would have ever given
It's
before
there,
anyway."
right?
Yeah, it's
And
there
it's
to
the
be given.
same thing. If you have a pot which is there for investing, for example, right? So it goes in. So you're just focusing on spending this. You're not focused on spending that. And then when there is an investment opportunity, you have the money. I mean, I remember
Mm.
speaking to a teacher who came up to me, goes, "Oh, your system, it really works. It's wonderful. It's fantastic." And I just didn't know what he was talking about. I said, "Slow down. What system?" And he said, "Well, I'm a teacher." And I said, "Oh, do you earn more money now?" He goes, "No, I earn the same amount of money, but I now give to charity, which I never did before." So yeah, your example, I now can invest in my education. I can now actually make investments, and I never did that. And it's all because of the JAR system, which I learned, by the way, from T. Harbecker at the Millionaire Mind Intensive.
Yeah,
He is
amazing.
awesome.
So we absolutely are going to, and just so when we said about advanced, I wasn't quite clear how advanced we were going to go. So what you
Right.
actually probably don't know about me, Marcus, I used to run a division of a stock brokerage, and I was involved with derivative trading and various other
Right.
elements. So when I
That's
think
quite
advanced,
advanced.
I
That's
go
very
to
advanced.
I go to that level. I wasn't. So
Okay.
it's some of the other stuff we were talking about that I might think is advanced, maybe isn't.
Right.
So we absolutely are going to be talking about
Mm.
some of the things that I know
Let's
you're an
do it.
absolute expert in. But I really wanted to lay this foundation of money mindset, because the first thing that people go, and I was certainly this person for a long time, is I will start when.
Mm.
When I've got enough cash in the bank, then I'll start saving. When I've done this, then I'll start doing that.
That's right.
But I think POTS is a really, really, really good place to start for sure.
It's more
Before we,
important to start now than it is to start later. Just start now. Why? Because we need to get into the habit of
yeah,
doing it. And so if you can do it with small amounts, you can do it with large amounts. But let me tell you, if you don't know how to do it with small amounts, you ain't going to do it with large amounts. Just imagine you now said, well, I'm going to put 10% away, right? From now, you said, well, £1. Well, yeah, of course, I'm going to put 10 pence away. Now imagine you're earning hundreds of thousands and you're like, hold on, you want me to put 10,000 to charity? You're not in the habit. You're not going to do it. So do it now. Do it now, no
yeah.
matter how much money you have.
Absolutely, and you may have a far better technique than this than me, but just something that I do that the listeners may benefit from is so I learned the acronym from a mentor of mine, John D. Martini, which is FAST saving, so forced accelerated saving technique. And basically, every 3 months, I increase the amount I'm putting into a pot by 10%, which means every 2 years it's actually doubled, and then
Wow.
that way it goes up incrementally without you really feeling it, because 10%
Yes.
every 3 months
Yes.
is kind of nothing,
Love
but
that.
every 2 years the amount has actually doubled that you're putting into the various different pots, which is
Absolutely love that. Love that. Yeah.
so you had got yourself in debt. You're at sort of one, you by your own admission, is sort of one of the lowest points of your life. What was the moment that then you decided enough's enough? I'm changing this, and what was it that you discovered that enabled you to make that
I
change?
think a couple of things. One thing, I think people are in debt, but they don't know exactly how much in debt they are because they might be avoiders. I mean, avoiders generally get into debt, right? Because they don't really look at this financial situation. But I actually worked it out one day, and I just thought, you know, beep, I'm actually over £100,000 in debt. That's That's a nice big number, So that was one. So pain, basically, pain is good, by the way. Gosh, pain is good. People need to have more pain. And the only reason, I know that sounds a bit masochistic or sadistic, but pain moves, And so I was like, whoa, my back's against the wall. Now, when your back's against the wall, what do you do? You can't go back anymore. You got to move forward. And I went on a Tony Robbins seminar, I guess like a lot of people, because he touches so many people, and there were only 2,000 people only in the room for 3 days. And this was in 1999 in Cardiff. And I went on my own. I never told anybody, And they were all clapping. They were all really happy. It was disgusting. They were like, yeah, come on in. You're like, don't touch me. It's like entering a sect, like this. And I'm like at the back, there's a grumpy guy going, and they must be a loser and they're a loser. And I'm like, well, I'm here, aren't I? But anyway, so I'm there. And then he starts talking about certain things like you control your mind and live with passion. And you're like, this sounds all right, actually. I quite like this, And then within a couple of hours, you're like, yeah, you're going with it. And that totally changed me totally. Because, I don't know why we need this sometimes for somebody to tell you stuff that you should already know. Or maybe you've already heard, but you need somebody to tell you in a certain way. Or maybe I was just ready. I was in enough pain. And he said, make a commitment, make a decision, and take massive action towards it, So, right. So I got to leave my job then. So that's what I did. I stood in a queue. And I don't know whether they were all doing the same. By the way, this is in the 90s, right? So you've got to remember, we didn't all have a mobile phone. And if we did, it was like this big, right? So we were all there with our 10 pences waiting for the public phone. And I left a message from my boss. And I didn't like immediately tell him I'm leaving, but I said, I've got to talk to you first thing in the morning. I've got to talk to you. And I put down the phone and I went, oh no, what have I done? Because Tony talks, you've got to take massive action. Otherwise it's not a real decision. You can change your mind. I'm like, oh, what have I done? What have I done? And in emails, I think you can recall emails. And I was like, *1, *2, trying to record, and people behind me, come on, it's our turn. And then I remember that, my boss came in, and he goes, oh, I've got your message. Come on into my room. And I'm like, no, I don't. It's fine, And I kind of bottled out for a couple of seconds. But then I remembered, make your move. You make your move, whatever it is, And then, I went into my boss's office and I fired him. And it was the best thing I ever did. Listen, and I wish I could tell you, by the way. And then I went from here to here and I was a millionaire. And it really wasn't like that. It was like a roller coaster life. But it all went in the right direction, like a stock, really, going up like that. I wouldn't change it for the world. Best decision I ever made, that's for sure. Yeah.
So you fired your boss.
Yeah.
And then when does investing come into play?
Well, obviously Tony upsold at the Unleash the Power Within, this like big university thing. And I was one of the first people to run to the back. I was so inspired. I was just so inspired. And that's what I wanted. I needed inspiration in life. I just felt so stuck, And I signed up to his Mastery University. And I think it was about, I don't know what it is now, but at the time it was like 12 grand, 13 grand. I stuck it on a credit card. I'll worry about that later. And then I remember going on this thing called Wealth Mastery, it was called, and there were 1,500 people in the room, and this guy gets on stage and he says, today's my favorite day. And he said that every day, and then he started talking about the stock market. And I just thought, what is this thing, And he said, you can make money going up. And I went, okay. And he said, and you can make money going down. I went, down? How do you do that? And I was hooked. How can you make money going down? How? I was hooked. Well, it was really funny because it was a big seminar, right? And there's 1,500 people. And this guy's like trying to explain 3 strategies all on one flip chart, So anyway, but it got me started. That's the main thing. It got me started. Yeah.
And then from there, you've learned this, and it's so funny because we actually haven't even had this conversation, but I had exactly the same thing. Went to UPW, big life changing moment, what I call my lightning moment. I brought this up on the last the last podcast that I did, and I'm going to bring it up again because I want to show you because you won't know this, and I've never shown anyone.
He's gone.
He's gone. I'll be back. So I've never shown anyone this. Now I'm showing it twice on the same podcast. So my assistant bought me this, which you may or may not be able to see there. But that is, it says my lightning moment. And at the bottom of it, it says Tony Robbins, Unleash the Power Within, 11th of May, 2013. And that was the exact moment she called the organization Success Resources, which you know very well, and found the exact moment when he told the Thanksgiving story back then. And that was the sky at the time, right? So it was, and then signed up for
Written in the stars. Is that
Mastery University, and then it went on from there. Anyway, we digress slightly, but I just think it's funny that I've never shared that with anyone ever, and then 2 podcasts back to back it's come up. But
leaders create leaders, and the one thing that Tony wants is he wants to create more leaders, and I think that's brilliant. We need more leaders in this world. We do.
Yeah, now more than ever. And then you have obviously gone on this journey, and there's a degree of success. So Tony's son, Jarek, who you may or may not know, he wrote a book called Learn It, Live It, Give It. And there's a lot of people in this world that they've learned it and then they just go and give it. They skip the living bit. So what was the living part for you that you were able to do as an investor, rather than just teaching this, that started to make a difference in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, what happened was that I started going on all of these different courses, right? It's just like course after course after course after course. And the challenge with it is that they were all big seminars. And so honestly, for me, it was just like I was just sick and tired. You got to remember, this is back a long time ago when literally it was a big thing to be able to go onto the internet. So you'd be there with a book trying to learn, forget about charting software, forget about, and at the end they would go things like, okay, we've been here together for 2 days. Should we spend the last minute going onto the internet and looking at charts? Which, yes, please, like, wow. Today, it's like, ding, 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 it's like you've got everything. People have it so simple to learn now, whereas, blimey, it really wasn't. It wasn't until I found a mentor that really sat me down and said, Marcus, you've read all the books, you've done all this, but you don't know how to make money yet. I was like, all right. And then he sat me down. He said, look, all you need to do is this, just do this. And so I started making, after honestly years of losses, I'll be honest, years of losses, years and years, to then just breaking even, to then starting making money on a consistent basis. And by the way, I'm not going to claim that I make money on a daily basis. I'm not a day trader, intraday trader. I'm somebody, I like to think of myself a little bit of like, I'm not Warren Buffett, but a little bit like Warren Buffett. In other words, I don't mind how long it takes as long as I make the profit in the end. So I could be in there for months and I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. Right? Other people, they need to make money right now. Right? Otherwise, they lose their rag. And so it was only once I started doing that and started making profit that I thought, right, I've got something here. Everybody was always asking me about it, and I said, well, I'm not really making money, so I can't really teach you, like this. And even now, when people ask me to teach them about property, I mean, I've got loads of property, but I'm not a property expert, so I can't teach property, right? I can, I do lots of different things. I have businesses, right? But I'm not a business person, really. And so therefore, I can't teach business. I'm not like you, right? But I can teach about investing, and then later on trading when I really, got better at that. So I just started that. I started with one-on-ones, and then before I knew it, I had like 10 people in my living room. I was always about small groups with a computer each because I never had it. You know how you always teach like, I wish I would have had this. So we were in the living room on a Sunday, and my girlfriend at the time, who then became my wife, said, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And it's like, "There's 10 people in our living room. Like, are you going to create a business out of this?" I was like, a business, yeah, business. Oh, business. I don't know about that. But yeah, just hire a place, please. And I'm like, ooh, but that means costs, So it really sounds like a business now. And then that's how it finally grew. Yeah.
Love that. I love how it's just unfolded so sort of naturally and developed. The thing that I suppose I'm keen to know, and I know that the listener will be as well, is that, well, there's 2 things actually. The first thing is around, you said that you're doing it and making losses, and there's a lot of people that have invested in the past, and we'll get onto the distinction between investing and trading in a moment, but what was the thing? Knowing what happened, you said, well, it just clicked and it changed and it was breaking even. Then it clicked and you were making profit. What was the 1, 2, or 3 things that you did differently?
It was definitely when my mentor said, "Listen, you've got all these different charts, you've got all these different indicators. You're totally confused, right?" Because I kept going from this. It wasn't like go. The mistake I made was I went on this course. And instead of then following and going on the next course with the same person, with the same language, with the same setup, and you build and build and build, and it has a compound kind of effect. What I did is and then I went over there, and then I went over there, and rushing around it, and then I went to Singapore, and then I went to the States, and then, and I really played full out, really, Tony Robbins style, spent a lot of money. But that's a new concept. It's a new language. It's a new way of teaching. So I'm like, oh, bloody hell. So I can't really use that anymore. So and that's a mistake that I made, that I tell people try not to make. That was the first thing. And the other thing is just to simplify things. Forget about all the indicators. Forget about all of that. The magic thing that's, if these two things cross, the moving averages cross, that's when you get in. It's rubbish. It's actually just price movement. Price movement is the number one indicator. And instead of, and this is the third thing, what I used to do, this is so embarrassing. What I used to do, because all these seminars, what they used to teach you is how to get in, right? Strategy number 1, number 2, number 3, and by the end of the day 2 is strategy number 14. And you were like, so, sorry, which one is the best one? Which one? They're all good. Yeah, but is just to keep it so simple. I used to, as soon as I made a profit, I used to get out. I used to go, I've just made 5%. It's been amazing, right? And then when it went down, I'd go, oh, I don't like this feeling. And then it went down more, 10%. I'm like, oh, I don't like this at all. Oh, I'm not going to look at that anymore. So I look at it next week. I look at it next month. I look at it once a year. So I used to cut my profits short, and I used to let my losses run.
Yeah.
But you have to do the exact... But no one taught me this. This is what I'm saying. They didn't talk about risk management, like you only risk 1% of your entire portfolio. It took me 4 years to learn that. That should have been on every single course. To let your profits run as long as possible, right? Which is one of the golden rules. And here's the second rule. As soon as you're in loss, get out. Sorry, it took me 3.5 years to learn that. It should have been on every single course, right? Anyway, those were the old days where you just got millions of people in, thousands of people in a room. And so those were the three big things that really got it. Yeah,
I love that last one. I remember when I was working in the city, there was a saying, which was a colleague of mine said at the time, which he was talking to a client. He said, you've been eating like a bird and shitting like a duck was his term, which is basically taking tiny little profits and then having these massive losses that wipe everything out. And
yeah, and it's the other way around. But from a human point of view, I get it. You want to feel good, so you want to take the profits. You go, yeah. But you don't like those losses, And so we celebrate losses. We go, yeah, because it's statistics, and they didn't teach me this either, right? Which is basically when you have a probability strategy, which is, let's say, 50%, you are going to get a certain amount of losses even in a row. And so because you know that, you're also then going to get wins a certain amount in a row. So don't sweat the losses because the wins are about to come. But of course, if you don't know that, you just think loss. And most people give up. They give up.
Yeah.
But because I went to the mindset Tony Robbins stuff, I would never give up, right? I do whatever it takes. Like, if you think you can't, you must, and all the stuff that he teaches. Right? I was wired. I was like totally wired. Yeah. By the way, there was a reason I was so wired. This might be an important one. I actually went full in. So what I did with Tony is I went to his master university, then I went on leadership and then senior leadership. And what that and you pay for this, by the way, to then crew events and stuff like that. It's quite clever. And then the great thing about that is that you are conditioning the learnings again and again and again and again and again and again until you're not a robot, but you kind of like even if you fail, you don't fail because you learn from it. It's he's good. Yeah.
Repetition is the mother of skill, as he would say.
Repetition of all skill, absolutely.
Yeah. And so the thing that because what I'm always interested in being is the people that listen to this, what can we take from this, and where can we pull this out and make this relevant? And I think there's so much in relevance, but the other thing that, and I can't remember exactly the stats, you may know these, but Warren Buffett, for example, one of the most successful investors of all time. And there's all of these books that have been written about his strategies and all the rest of it. But one of the things that somebody once said to me, or I heard, was the one book that's never been written about Warren Buffett's strategy, of all of the stuff that he does and all the amazing stuff, is just how long he's been in the game.
Yeah.
He's been doing it a very, very long time
Yeah.
now, sort of
Yeah.
decades and decades and decades.
Yeah.
And secondly, is how long he holds on to stuff. So he'll find something good and then hold, which is essentially what you were saying. You know, you make a small loss, right? You're out. Your stop losses kick in place or whatever, and then you run your profits. So let's now talk about where we're at in today's day and age, because in recent years there'll be a lot of people that have heard cryptocurrency being bandied around. They might have heard of things like Bitcoin, and all of these people that are out there these days, particularly on Instagram, talking about how you can make yourself a billionaire in 2 days or whatever else, which as somebody that has helped over 50,000 people, you've become incredibly financially successful yourself by most people's standards. By most people's standards. But you have your own view on cryptocurrency and how to do it and how not to do it, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I just took the stuff that I've been doing 25 years now, and 7 years ago, so the stocks is basically stocks, you know. And when this new kind of asset class came around, I was totally skeptical and I didn't want to do it. And I told people from big stages not to do it until one person said, but give me a reason why not. And it was a really embarrassing moment for me because I didn't really have an answer. I was just saying no because I didn't understand it. And I knew that my stock stuff worked. Right. So that was the only reason. And so he kind of like caught me out, and it was really embarrassing. And I apologize, right, for all the people that I said no to, because in 2016, I realized that I had left so much money on the table by just not being open to it. And you could almost say, well, I should have been more open to it, but it was because I was so in the industry that I was closed off to it. Because I said, but this works. Why would you do anything else, you know? Well, the answer is diversification. You need to, and I'd left something like $80 million on the table. I've calculated it, because every 4 years there is a massive bull market in cryptos. So you don't have to be buying, selling. In fact, you probably shouldn't be buying, selling, because you should be living your life and spending 20 minutes a day just doing this, or you know, focusing on your business. You shouldn't be like trading and investing all day. That's ridiculous. But because it's a 4-year cycle, and there's a reason there's a 4-year cycle, every 4 years there is a massive bull market. Like in 2017, Bitcoin went from 1,000 to 20,000. That's 20 times, you know. And then in 2021, it went from 3,500 to 68,000. That's like, oh, that's 20 times, you know. And that's a lot. And by the way, when Bitcoin goes up 100%, others go up 1,000%, and others go up even more. My record's 31,000%. 31,000, which I mean, I'm a stocks guy. 31,000% in stocks. I don't think so. You know, that just doesn't happen. You're happy with 100%, 200%, you know. So what cryptos is doing, it's allowing everyday people and people who, you know, are a little bit more switched on and who are willing to work at it, definitely even more, the opportunity to create really life-changing wealth. I don't know about being a billionaire, but certainly making hundreds of thousands, if not millions, for sure.
So a couple of questions in relation to that, and this is relevant to something I probably should have brought up before. You said about buying and selling. So let's just quickly make a distinction between, for the people that are listening, between trading and investing, whether that's in stocks or crypto. So what's the differences, and what do you stand for?
So trading, you're in for hours or days to weeks max. Investing, it's months to years. So expect years. And by the way, if it does go up overnight, amazing, you know, then, you know, take your profit and you're good to go. But expect to be there a little bit longer. And then you're never disappointed, right? But this whole, I'm in a rush, I need to make money and all this kind of stuff is very fear-based, and it just won't serve you. So I'm personally more towards the intermediate. I'm willing to wait months. And that's fine by me, because if I can make 20%, you know, in a few months, I'm very, very happy with that. Cryptos, it'll be more, but with stocks, 20%, absolutely fine. You know, and you do that several times in the year, and your portfolio just does that. And then obviously, you now have more money. So if next year you do that again, and it just compounds up. And most people have heard of compounding growth, but they don't actually do it. You know, they don't really do it. You do it in business. You do it in business all the time, right? You
Yeah,
spend X amount of money on marketing, you make a hell of a lot more back, and then you put it all into marketing and your business growth. But when it comes to investing, people don't really get it.
yeah, it's well, Albert Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world, didn't he? Compounding, and
Absolutely.
it's huge. There's a big distinction that I learned years ago, and I'm actually about to, so spoiler alert, I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of podcast solo episodes where I'm going to be doing the things I wish I knew. I'm going to do the things I wish I knew about health, things I wish I knew about money, and one of the things that I wish I knew about money was the difference between having an investment account and a savings account. So, for example, when I was younger, and I can't blame my parents because they just taught me what they knew, right? But it was a case of save your money, and I would save my money and then buy something. So I'd save, buy, I don't know, a pair of trainers, save, buy a car, save, buy something. And I would be buying something that, I wanted it. Whereas now I have a portion of my money, and it goes away, and it's money that I will never touch. So people talk about paying themselves first. So I'm a big advocate. So all of my staff get paid on the last Friday of the month. I pay myself on the first of the month because I pay myself first. But then once I've paid myself first, I then pay myself first again. So if we think about the money that comes into our personal bank account that pays rent, mortgages, put food on the table, whatever else, I pay my future self. So that money, as you said before, sort of for savings, goes into a savings account. The idea is it never gets touched. It never gets
But do you invest
spent
that
on
money?
anything. Yes.
You do. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the jar system that we were talking about earlier, that would be your, Half calls it the financial freedom account. I call it the investment account. So it's not there. And you're right, because in the past, we didn't have everything online. You literally had to look at the paper, and who would look at the paper at a stock every single day? Whereas here you just press the button and it's on your mobile phone. So nowadays it's so much simpler to actually. I don't even really have savings really. I have an account that I invest, but it's liquid. I can sell my cryptos today, and I will have the money in my account today, latest tomorrow. To me, that's liquid. I like liquid. Yeah. For me, that is super important. Yes, we have properties, but that's a different strategy. I like to have the majority of it liquid. But that's just me.
Yeah, and that this all comes back to, and just to be, I guess in today's day and age, you kind of do have to say it. This isn't financial advice, investment advice. It is just creating some knowledge around what's going on. But you do also have, a whole organisation. Investment Mastery is an organisation that helps people specifically with this. You're a UK-based investment education business. But if people are curious, they want to know. I know you've got a couple of resources in the form of books. Do you want to talk to those briefly?
Yeah, I don't know whether you can put the link somewhere or below. Or
whatever. We'll pop them in the show notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a couple. If you want the stocks one, then I can't even find it. We'll have to put the link below. But it's basically the two different types, right? One is if you want to learn about stocks, then I've got a book on it, which honestly is a really good book. No, it is really good because it puts, I know that's a funny thing to say, but I read it again the other day and I'm like, bloody hell, everything you need is in there, right? It's 124 pages and it's full of everything I know over the last 25 years, tells you the strategies, how to do it, etc. So we'll put the link there. It's called The Lunchtime Trader. The idea being is have your lunchtime, but also spend 20 minutes a day creating wealth, and which, you're doing anywhere with your businesses. And that's your pillar, but have at least one other pillar, please, whatever happens. And I'll tell you a story about that, which really struck me in just a moment, if you remind me. The other book is just a 24-pager, a real introduction to cryptocurrencies. Because cryptos, let me tell you, and we'll timestamp this, right? In the next 14 months, until the end of 2025, is going to be huge because we're in the fourth year of the 4-year cycle, and there's a reason that it has to go up. It's called supply and demand. And you don't screw around with supply and demand, right? If there's a lack of something and the demand is constant, price has to go up. But what if the supply is down and demand is up, which it is with Bitcoin? It's just a matter of time. The institutions are buying. So those are the two. So it's either stocks or cryptos or both. But the crypto one over the next 14 months or so, it's going to be huge. Absolutely.
Yeah. So this isn't the place to. Well, I say this isn't the place. It could be whatever we want it to be. But I'm
Yeah,
just really mindful of not going into too much of the granular detail of what crypto is and why the supply and demand and all of the other elements
sure.
that happen. Is it halving that happens every February?
That's
Is
the
that
one.
right?
Just in one sentence, right? It's the amount of Bitcoin that gets released into the market is halved. It's like me saying, okay, I'm going to dig gold. I'm only going to dig half the amount, and 4 years later, again, I'm going to halve it, and then 4 years later, I'm going to halve it again. Well, prices have to go up because there isn't enough gold. That's it. That's it.
Mm, mm. Um, from a from that standpoint, in terms of where you're going, and we spoke about money mindset and wealth creation and all those good things. Your mission, as you said earlier, was to help everyday people take control of their finances, and the vehicle, whether it's stocks, the vehicle's crypto, or the vehicle, whatever else it may be become in the future. What do you see money as personally?
Money. What is money?
Yeah, for you, what
Do you
does
know,
it mean for
I'd
you?
love to spend some time talking about. I don't think we have the time now of the three components of money, but the first one is it's nothing but a reflection of the value that you give to society. That for me is value. Sorry, that is money, right?
Mm,
So and by the way, it's perceived value. You can think I'm giving value, 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 value. Nobody else does, right? So in business, this is why I said I'd love to talk about it at some stage because you're the businessman, and I think that in business, you just give enough value, give so much value that they would be stupid to say no to you. That to me is business. Business is about people,
mm,
right? So here you go. I'm talking about something I don't understand about, so I'll shut up. But money to me, it's funny because I'm a saver. So I have a pot, the fun pot, right? That you're supposed to spend every single month. You're supposed to spend it, right? I have such a challenge spending it. And you have to, the rule is to spend it. You have to go to a hotel. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Because it's the rule, I was at an airport, it was the 29th, right? And it was only one day till the end. And I had, whatever it was, £1,000 left. And I said, I said I went into the duty free and I said, it's your lucky day because I have to spend £1,000 and I have to spend it now. And she was just looked at me and goes, and I said, I know, it's stupid, right? So I got all loads of presents for people. I have a real challenge spending money. I just don't spend money. So, um, you know, partners, they kind of say to you, it's all about the experience and all this kind of. So they help me spend money, which is good. Going to the Maldives and stuff. But I don't need to go to the Maldives. It's not like I'm on a mission. So if I go to the Maldives, I know life is about balance and all this kind of stuff, but I am pushing harder. I'm 56. I'm pushing harder than I've ever pushed before because I believe, but this is just me, right? You don't have to listen to this, but to me, I've got a finite time here on this planet to really make a difference. And to me, and again, this is Tony Robbins, I've been well conditioned. There's the 6 human needs, right? But the last 2 are about growth and contribution. And I'm going to be tired in 10, maybe that's a limiting belief, but in 15 years, I probably won't want to do this or I'll be too tired to. So I've only got a limited amount of time to push this and to help as many people as possible. And
mm.
after that, hopefully I'll leave a legacy here and my team will continue doing that. But yeah, what is money? It's a great question. It's for the people that need it. It's incredibly important. I don't need as much of it now. I've got the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So I've got enough to eat. I've got enough to. So what's next? And for me, it's making that difference because I don't want to. There was a time when I had this fear that in the last 5 minutes of my life, I would be on my deathbed and go, "Oh, are you allowed to swear on this podcast? I don't even know."
You can swear. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
good.
so it was like, "Oh, fuck, I fucked it all up," and then I'd be screaming for 5 minutes, and then I'd die. And honestly, I know that sounds just ridiculous, but that drove me because I was fear-based or pain-based for a long time before I switched. Once you start making money, it switches from I don't have enough to, oh, I have more than enough. I can actually help people. So I don't have that anymore. Now it's not about that fear. Now it's about, oh, how many people can I help? So it switches at one stage. It's kind of a journey. It's from, anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. But
No, you see, it's not a ramble at all. I just find it fascinating. I've spent for as long as I can remember, being fascinated by how people think. And you know, you talk about these rooms where people go and learn, the personal development rooms, the business development rooms, even the investing rooms people go to learn. And what is it that means that one person hears exactly the same stuff as somebody else, and that person absolutely thrives and the other person doesn't? And I find that fascinating. And there's a number of elements to it. But the thing you just said there is that about sort of not having enough to having enough, which if we want to sort of use some sort of quite sort of fairly regularly used personal development terms would be scarcity and abundance, right?
Yeah.
But do you think that starts with the mindset, or is it having the strategy, or is it a chicken or an egg situation?
Yeah, it's very chicken and egg. You've got to do both, right? So what you just said is so true. Look, why does one person do it and the other person do it? There's lots of different reasons. Why do we, on our courses, spend so much time on mindset, where you know, participants literally must be thinking like, will you just get on with it, Marcus? Just teach me another strategy. No. And I tell you why. Because I can teach you 10 million strategies, but unless you've got the foundation, you can have pillar business, you can have, you know, you can have stocks, you can have cryptos, but if you don't have the foundation, you're not going to do it, or you'll do it and then you'll give up. I remember having a chat around 2000 with somebody who was very big in personal development, and I said, you know, this is my mission, and you know, I want everybody, you know, who comes on my course, you know what it's like when you start off. I want everybody to be successful. He said, Marcus, who do you think you are? What makes you think you're going to change people? You cannot change people. Only, you know, 1% will be really successful. Then there's another 5%, and you might get 10%, right? And you know what? I actually never spoke to that person again, because I just thought, I don't want you infecting me with your limiting beliefs. We did a poll recently. 88% of my graduates are making money. Now, I'm slightly focusing on why aren't the 12% doing it, right? Why? But it's bullshit. If you help them in all different ways, right? Not just physical meetings, but also online, and maybe send them audio, and also have visual stuff and one-on-ones, and you because everybody's different, right? And I see people like popcorn. They're all going to pop eventually, right? Pop. Some of them are a little bit slower, and that's fine. And you tell them in advance. By the way, for some of you, it's like the marathon. You might hit the wall, and you stop. Now, if you didn't know there was going to be a wall, you'd give up. But no, I was told about the wall. So yeah, what did he say? Yeah, I'm going to keep going. Right. Okay. So we do all those kind of things, you know. And honestly, the more personal development we have, the more distinctions that we can share, and yeah, it is chicken and egg, but you just got to be there for people, you know. You've got to be there for people. And by the way, just sorry, and I'll shut up in a second. We've actually hired for the first time. It's taken me 20 years, but we've hired a love and cuddles manager, and their role is just literally to phone people up and say, you know, you haven't been on for like a week or so. Is everything all right? You know, like this. That's it. That's their role. Like, oh, thank you so much. You know, blah, 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 blah. They just need a push. That's all they need.
Yeah, I refer to that as active accountability. So my whole coaching philosophy is really boiled down to 3 things: absolute clarity, intelligent action, active accountability. So having that little bit of a nudge when you need it. And it's so true. You know, the analogy you used of running the marathon and the time. And look, in today's day and age, there's so much is driven around instant gratification, isn't it? You know, we want it now, we want it now. And I'll be the first to admit that. So I had in sort of trading terms, blew myself up when I was 23.
You have to do that. You have to do that at least once. You have to blow up an account.
Over six figure sum, blew the lot and some, and of personal money, which was everything back then that I had when I was, and it was a really interesting time. Then years later, I'm probably one of the only people I know that's lost money in crypto, on Bitcoin specifically.
How did you manage that? How? It's not
exactly.
Impossible.
But well, no. What happened, and this is it, is because I had put some money in, and this is not the place to be giving financial advice for everybody that's listening, but this is what happened for me. Was I had pot of money that I put in something, but actually I needed it for something else, right? So this comes back risk to reward ratios and all that good stuff. And I was in Bitcoin and Ethereum, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
And I vividly remember it because it was January. It was the beginning of January last year, and I remember thinking, I'm going to need this money. If it goes down 20%, it's going to cause me problems. Do you know what? Let's just liquidate and sit on cash. And literally from January last year, it's just continued to go up.
It was you basically sold
about 13,000. I think Bitcoin was at that point.
It was 16,000 was the lowest. 16,000. Well, it depends whether you're talking about pounds. I talk dollars, so 16,000. And it just went up from there back to 73,000.
Yeah. So that's what I mean.
So, Will, next time, just call me and I'll do the opposite. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of people that can make a lot of money by doing the opposite of what I've done over the years. That's for sure. Yeah. So there's one other thing I just want to have it as a conversation whilst we're on here. You said one of the things about money, which I wholeheartedly agree with in business, which is money represents the value or the perceived value they provide to the world. Yeah. However, when it comes to investing, as an investor, you put money into a stock or you put money into crypto. How are you creating value?
Several ways. One is liquidity. It's very important that you have us small people going in and out, so that everybody else can come also in and out, because there's market makers. You know this better than anybody else, right? And we've got to have enough people buying and selling all the time in order for there to be a liquid market. Remember, I love liquid, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I think property is amazing, right? But try getting out a few years ago out of your Spanish property. You know, it's just not liquid. You know, you could sell it for 50p. I mean, you can sell it. You can always sell it, but I want to sell it at the right price. You know, so yeah, I think that's the main thing, really, liquidity. And the other thing is you're actually funding companies to do whatever it is that they want to do. You know, so a lot of the companies, they own stocks themselves. So as they sell those stocks to somebody else, you're giving them money, liquidity again, very important, in order to fund certain things that they want to do, whether it's research or R&D and whatever that is. But yeah, it's not like business where you really add a lot of value with passion. It's not quite the same, that's for sure. So for me, it should never be your main thing. It should always be together with something else. I'm huge on that, right? That's in my first few minutes, it's always like, who wants a really strong financial, house, edifice, something solid? Do at least two things. So if you're doing business, also do some investing. Forget about trading, but you don't want to be doing this buying, selling. Mostly men think it's amazing, but just start investing, start growing your money, demand more of yourself and your money. That's it, really.
I suppose it's the difference between wealth creation, is in creating wealth, and then wealth storage. And I kind of see it like that. Yeah. You can potentially make your money in your business. There's a lot of people that I know that in business and property you mentioned before, there's a lot of people that I know that they make lots of money in their business, for example, and they use property as an asset class, as a form of wealth storage and diversification, rather than their business is property. Absolutely. And pretty much every person that I've ever met, they don't love property. They love what property gives them, right? Whereas people love their business. They pour them, so that you love teaching people and training people and giving them that financial education and teaching them all of those things. And you also do the other component, which is great.
I have a question for you, which is that, you love business. So I met somebody on my 40th birthday. My wife, when she was still my wife, she bought me a swimming with whales kind of gift, like a present, because that was on top of my list. People always want to swim with dolphins. I'm like, dolphins, whales. I want to swim with a whale. It's huge. And we went there on this sailing boat, and there was this really successful business person there, right? But he had put everything into his business. And then there was a change in the law legislation, and he lost everything, right? And he goes, I'm everything. And I remember talking to him. He seemed really well to do. And I said to him, yeah, but you haven't lost everything, have you? I mean, I'm sure you ferreted away 5% and put it in property or stocks. You did something. Come on. Between you and me, the tax people are, come on. And he said, No, Marcus, I was always taught to reinvest and just put everything in. And, I just put it all on this one pillar, right? This is why I'm so passionate about don't just do one pillar, do another pillar. And by the way, if somebody comes to me and they say, oh, I'm going to leave my job in order to do what you're teaching. No, I say, no, do not do that. You need two, it's very important. So where do you stand on that? I'd be really interesting to know because you're like a
Yeah,
business guy.
I think that the biggest mistake that people make is that they go all in for too long. So what I mean by that is, in a lot of cases, what gets you to where you are isn't going to get you to where you're going. And I work with a lot of people that are typically 7 or 8 figure revenue business owners, and they've grafted hard. They've got to a point and they hit this glass ceiling,
Yeah.
and they literally don't have enough hours in the day. They cannot concern anymore. So something has to shift. And there's a few things that is. And one of them might be from being goal-led to becoming North Star-led, and going from working more to working less. There's lots of different components to it.
Okay.
And with that is that what people get to a point where they've actually now built something of value, and they don't consider threats. So I'm a strategist ultimately. I'm constantly thinking about what are the different ways that we can think differently and act differently to get a result. And one of the things that people do is they continue on that same path because it's worked, rather than actually looking at, well, what are the threats now? What could be a very real threat? I had a business with a business partner 10 years ago, and we were growing really fast. We had 85 staff, growing.
Wow.
Overnight, government changed legislation, literally killed that business, right? Did we see it coming? Sort of. Did we see it coming as quickly as we did? No. And absolutely everything was being poured into that business. And a great friend of mine, James Sinclair, he talks about fast pounds and slow pounds. So he's fast pounds, he's building his business, and 50% of the profit in any given year then gets invested into slow pounds, which would, in his instance, would typically be property, right? So you're constantly diversifying.
Fantastic. And that's what I do.
But
I do it in cryptos, and I'm so glad I did, because there was a downturn. For me anyway, in the training industry. Okay, let's just talk about me. Last year, it was really, really tough. I'll tell you what, the cryptos, they just kept it going, So it was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I'm glad you said that. Okay, good.
And that's also, I suppose, as well, where and I know this is absolutely something that you will teach as a fundamental, and like hedge funds, that literally it's in the term, they're hedging themselves constantly. So either way, they're winning regardless, and they're doing certain things to put themselves in a position where if one thing's going up, then the other's going down, and it just puts you into that position. So I mentioned his name a moment ago, a friend of mine, James Sinclair. So he used to own indoor nurseries, as in sort of soft play centres and stuff.
Oh, brilliant.
But obviously when it's really sunny, then everyone goes, so he bought a farm. So when it's sunny, people go to the farm, they're outside of the farm, and then when it's raining, they go to soft play. So
Brilliant.
Either way, he's
right there. That's awesome. Yeah.
But that's the point, isn't it? Is you've got the essentially what it boils down to, isn't it?
Asset classes, or negatively correlated. So if one thing goes up, so if interest rates go up, for example, your stock market goes down, and stuff like that. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of things to finish up on. First of all, what haven't I asked you in relation?
Good. That's a great question. I'm dying to do a spiel, on why cryptos is so important. On why cryptos is so important for everybody. Like, world is, there's this famous saying where they say first they ignore you, right? Then they laugh at you, then they attack you, right? And then they join you. And that's exactly what's happened with BlackRock. So people need to understand this, that they fought BlackRock has something like $11 trillion, right, under management. They're the biggest, and BlackRock are serious stuff. And so whatever they say goes. And they always said no to cryptos. And then earlier this year, they launched a Bitcoin ETF, an exchange traded fund, where for the very first time, institutions were legally allowed to go in and buy Bitcoin. So all of this, do you remember I told you that Bitcoin had gone up 2017, 1,000 to 20,000, then 2021 from 3,500 to 6,000. That was all you and me. That was all retail. No institution, not a single institution, right? Now the institutions are coming in, and I'm telling you, they're not coming in with £2,000 or £20,000. Within 80 days of that opening, that fund, they swallowed up 5% of all the available Bitcoin they took off the table. 5%. So it's not going to be very, very long until they keep buying and buying and buying. BlackRock just made an announcement. They are telling every single one of their clients to have an allocation in Bitcoin. Now, what that means, if people don't realize this, is that there's going to be not a lot of Bitcoin going around very, very soon. It means demand is going up and supply is going down. And I can only draw one logical conclusion, and that is we are in for one hell of a ride over the next a year and a bit. So,
Do you do projections?
Well, I can tell you, I pay somebody a lot of money around the world to go to all these different things and meet people, and because I got kids, I can't be traveling all over the world. So my personal mentor said that by the end of 2025, it could go up to 500,000. It's at 64,000 now. And, I've been in this game for 25 years, right? So what I do is I halve it and then I halve it again. And then that's my projection. So I say, oh, brilliant. I ask somebody really intelligent, okay, 500,000, okay, 2,500, 125,000. That'll do me. I'll more than double my money. And then the others, you see, when Bitcoin goes up 100%, remember what I said, the others go up 1,000%, and then some others will go up, tens of thousands of percent. So you put the majority in the big ones, and then you put less and less money. When you take on more risk, you put less and less money in there. So there's a bit of asset allocation going on there as well. By the way, all this sounds extremely complicated. It really isn't if you just take it one step at a time.
And that's where your 24-page resource comes in handy,
definitely.
which we're going to put in the show notes so people can explore. And I know you said that one of the things you really wanted to do is sort of explain more about crypto. Is that what you wanted to explain, or is there more that you wanted to unpack in relation to crypto? It feels particularly important for someone to know.
I just think that, this thing that you said about hedging and about being open to new things because you never know. And I said no to crypto in 2016, and I left $80 million on the table. And I would just ask people very nicely to please look into this for their own sake. Please don't be as blinded as I was. Because I don't think you've ever seen a bull market like a crypto bull market. You never seen anything like it. Your account just goes up every week, and for a whole year, and you just think, what the hell is going on? You just, I remember at the height of the bull market, I said, I made 300 grand today. Okay, that's nice. I'll probably lose again tomorrow because it goes up and down. The next day, I'm up another 300 grand. Right. Next day, I'm up another 300 grand, and you just think, this is the top now. So you will start seeing stuff like that, when it's going up too fast. And all we do is we milk the cow. We just move all the time. We're moving all the time. All we do is we just milk the cow. We don't ever kill the cow, right? We'll never totally sell Bitcoin because it's a value. It's like the new liquid gold. It could be worth $1 million each soon. So. But what we do is we take bits off the table, bit of milk, we milk the cow for a bit of yogurt, for a bit of cheese, bit of cheesecake, and then as it comes down again, we start buying into it again. So I actually buy, when it comes down, not when it goes up. Yeah. When it goes up, I'm in profit. I'm not buying. But if it comes down, I'll buy. So we kind of do the opposite to everybody else.
Yeah, buying the dips and averaging in and all that wonderful stuff.
And if it goes down a bit more, how about buying a little bit more this time? Come on, let's go, Yeah. And it's just a habit. Honestly, I promise you, this is another thing about wealth, is that, being wealthy is actually just a habit. You just have habits that lead to wealth. And if you're not yet, it just means you don't yet have the habits. That's really all it is. It's not like, oh, I can never be wealthy. That is absolute bullshit. That is absolute bullshit. Does that mean that other people might be faster? Yes, maybe. There's always somebody bigger, taller, faster, better looking, always, right? But can you do this? Absolutely. No.
Yeah, I think that the thing that comes to mind when you were just saying that there was, and I don't know who it's attributed to, it might actually be Warren Buffett, is time in the market is more important than timing the market.
That's right. Time in the market. It's funny you say that, because I actually, and I know I'm not, I view myself as I always think about putting on a cap, I'm the Warren Buffett of cryptos. And it's not that I will ever become a billionaire or anything. I have, to be honest, I really don't need to. I don't want to. I never have. I've never been really that money person, really. But the idea of not having to go in and out and look at it every day and worry if it goes down, because it's just noise going down, then it'll be up again. It's all good. That has really helped me with my investing. More than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if people want to find out more about you, Marcus, where can they go? We're obviously going to put the links to the books in the show notes, but where can people connect with you, find out more?
Obviously, you can go to my website, right? investment-mastery.com, investment-mastery.com. But if you download the books, that'll get you started, you see. So that'll be good. And then we have I just did a free 4-hour training. Last weekend I did a free 6-hour training. We kind of mix it up. It's normally on a Saturday, so I don't know whether people want to do that, but it's well worth it. It is just well worth it. Yeah.
There we go. So yeah, people can come and connect with you, and then we'll put the link to the website, Investment Mastery website. People want to find out more about the training organisation, over 50,000 people, sort of all around the world that have been educated by you and your team on this, and the books as well. To wrap up, what's one thing that you wish more people asked you?
That they asked me?
God, one question you wish that more people asked you.
Gosh, that is such a great question. They ask me. I would say it's something along the lines of, if they have a challenge, then I wish they would ask me more the who, not the what. Because I actually think that when you have a problem, it's often not a what, it's a who. So who do I need to talk to rather than the what? Because then you might go down a different rabbit hole. But when I have challenges, I always ask the who, because I need to know who has done this before, or who has had this challenge before. And I go and ask that person. They go, I can tell you, I did the research. These are the top people. I chose this one. Why did you choose that one? Great. Brilliant. So for me, it's a who rather than a what.
Yeah, fantastic. What a way, a great philosophy of life to help you in any area, not just financially, but in solving any particular challenge in any area of life. I think that's a staple lesson for sure. Well, Marcus, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Will. And listen, keep doing what you're doing, because you are on a mission and it's brilliant. We need more leaders. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. And for everyone that's been listening, you want to find out more about Marcus, head to the show notes. You can find all that information and connect with him and check out the books. And until next time, live a life you love. And until next time, live a life you love. Thank you for listening to North Star Conversations with Will Polston. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Share it with just one person that you think will benefit from it. My North Star is to empower people to transform excuses into results and live a life they love, and this show exists for that purpose, and you can help make that a reality too. By liking, rating, reviewing and sharing the show, you will help the platform algorithms do their thing and get North Star Conversations in front of more people so they can benefit from it too. Make sure you hit subscribe so you get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Until next time, live a life you love.